The other psalm I wanted to go over is a short psalm, and that would be Psalms 2, that's speaking of the Messiah. And how long ago was Psalms written? Well, Psalms was written 1,000 years before Christ. Christ was 2,000 years ago, and so that's 3,000 years ago. And it's neat to think, man, if you think 1,000 years ago, that's amazing. But so when Jesus and the disciples are quoting words of the Bible, they're quoting words 1,000 or 1,500 years before Christ, and yet it is speaking of Christ and what he would do, that he would come in to Jerusalem like he was, riding in on a donkey, and they would pluck his beard and beat him, and that he would pay for all sins. So, all right, let's look at Psalms 2. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Or that's vain is empty. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. So these kings and rulers, wow, they really counsel together, but they're against God and his anointed. See, this is the Messiah. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords. Yeah, just like they did with Jeremiah. They broke that yoke when he broke that yoke, because he was telling them, you guys are going into bondage. But because they broke that wooden yoke, God said, tell them they're going to get an iron yoke and they're going into captivity. Well, they went into captivity into Babylon, but God was good. He's merciful. He told them that they would be rescued. And Daniel, you see Daniel reading the book of Jeremiah, and it just hits him that God was going to release them in 70 years so they could go back to the land. So these prophecies about those Jews being able to go back to the land, that was fulfilled clear back before Christ. And so God fulfills his promises. Now what man does, man tries to do a lot of crazy things on their own, but that doesn't mean that it's all from God, because a lot of times they're doing something for an evil end, but God is doing it for your good. So, he that sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Wow. So they think they're getting away with something, but God's laughing at them, because their plans will not come to fruition. Then shall he speak to them in his wrath. Oh, so he's first laughing, and then God's going to bring the wrath on them and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. So God has a king that he was looking to set. He was showing this 1,000 years before Christ, that he would bring this king to come to his holy hill of Zion. Well, Zion is a hill in Jerusalem, but you see the disciples also speaking of heavenly Zion, heavenly Jerusalem. They're focused on those things, not the carnal things. Just like Abraham, who was no Jew, but from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you had the 12 tribes, and one of the tribes was Judah. That's where David and Jesus came from, that line, from David, that seed of David that would have a kingdom forever, and this tribe of Judah. So Jesus, the lion of the tribe of Judah. Not like these earthly lions who devour men. No, God will bring wrath, but he also brings rescue and redemption. I will declare the decree, the Lord has said to me, thou art my son. So see, here for the Muslims that are really seeking justice, yeah, I want you to know that God has a son. So it's not like Muhammad said, but I know many of you are really seeking justice. So it's good to know, because you know the prophets, you know David, and you know these other prophets, and you know Jesus. But do you know who Jesus is? Jesus is who he said he is. So it's good to see this. This day I have begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So the heathen for his inheritance. So it was not meant just for the people called the Jews, but it was going out to the Gentiles, to the whole rest of the world also. So, look, if you look at the book of Daniel, you see a statue made with a head of gold, the chest and arms of silver, then the torso of brass, and the legs of iron going down to clay. Well, it shows that down at the toes, and it's Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Well, guess what happened right when Rome came in? It shows a stone that would come in, strike the nations, they begin to collapse, and the stone grows into a mountain, to a great mountain, to a kingdom without end, and people's sins would be paid for. So Jesus Christ is the stone that the builders rejected, the chief capstone that everything is put together with and on. So even Peter confirms that it is Jesus who is the stone. Yeah, Peter was a little stone, just like every other precious stone fit together as the temple he dwells in. But the main stone that everybody wants to reject is Jesus Christ. All right. So thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Yeah, like that statue that got broken. I got knocked right out of the kingdoms of the world, of the nations, into the kingdom of God. And wow, isn't that awesome that God, if you look at Ezekiel 37, where the dry bones, he calls them forth, the dry bones to life. They rise up to a great army. And yeah, that's like Jesus. When he came, he called forth Lazarus from the dead. He called me forth from death to life. That's what God does. He brings us from death to life. And also in that, you see two sticks that are put together, two dry sticks put together. And he said that they would be one kingdom under one king and one shepherd. Wow, isn't that awesome? That they would have, what is it, Ezekiel 36, maybe it's 36, that they would have a new covenant and a new spirit and a new heart. Okay, so serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Yeah, well, see, this is a problem. A lot of people have no fear of God. Not at all. So, yeah, it's good to fear God. Like a child, they can have fear of a parent. And it's not in a bad way. It's a good way, because you should fear your parent more than, as a kid, running into the street. You should know that your parent, they might whip your butt for walking into the street, but they're loving you. They don't want you to get ran over. They don't want you to go out there and be doing drugs and stuff. They love you, so that's why the parent has discipline for the child. And God's the same way. He disciplines those that he loves. So serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish from the way. Now, this kiss the Son, that's submitting to him. Submitting to him. Now, the devil came and tempted Jesus. See, we will go through temptations, but when the devil tempted Jesus, he's telling Jesus to bow down and submit to him. Kiss his hand like a dog licks its master's hand. No, we should submit to God and follow him. So we don't perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Well, God bless you. Continue to follow God and grow in him faithfully. So when we see him again, he'll say, well done, good and faithful servant. And he is that vine, that true vine, where we can be attached to him and have life. And he made us to love not for a short time, but for eternity. So love God, love others, and do good. God bless you.